Hey guys, welcome to my art/craft studio, and I just wanted to show you what we're going to be working on today. So let me see if I can turn this camera around so you can see the reference material. So we're going to be painting this cupcake today, and please excuse the mess. So this is the area where I set up my still lifes and photograph them, and then from that I will look at my iPad and paint from that as a reference after I get the lighting just right. But here are the colors that we're using today: Cad Red Medium, Titanium White, Mars Black, and Ultramarine Blue. So we are going to be painting this cupcake today. And before we get started, I wanted to show you some footage that I captured while I was visiting my family. There was this cute little purple, I think they call them raspberry finches, that showed up at the feeder. And I just thought he was cute, so I wanted to share that with you. And I've got a little bit more bird footage if you're interested. And if you're not, I guess you can fast forward to the painting aspect of the video. So I thought the cardinals in the next clip are really cute. They all just arrived at the feeder. There's about 10 of them. They all came at the same time. And I'm not sure if it's in this clip, but later there was also a woodpecker that showed up. There's a few other little birds too. It looks like there's a little dove on the ground as well. Maybe a chickadee, I'm not sure. I really love being out in nature and watching all the birds and looking at all the different diverse plants, and that's something I wanted to share with you on my channel if you're interested. These birds were really active this day. Okay, so today I guess we're going to be using a patriotic color scheme, red, white, and blue with the addition of black. So we'll be using the black to darken certain areas on this cupcake in the shadow. So I'm just getting a rough sketch with my paintbrush of this cupcake and just lightly sketching it. It doesn't have to be exact, but just the basic cup shape. And the cupcake is kind of an oval. You can imagine that it's an oval underneath the stack of icing. So I did a little color study off to the side of my easel. It's hanging. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little piece of paper, and I'm using the ultramarine blue mixed with white. I knew I wanted to have a pale pink and a pale blue, like a baby powder blue color. I thought those colors would harmonize really well together, and I thought the blues would make a nice shadow on the table. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to use the magenta mixed with white. I guess it's called quinacridone magenta, or if I wanted to use the cadmium red. So I just mixed each of them with white, and I decided that the cadmium red made a much nicer pale pink for the icing. And the cadmium red also lends itself to the cherry on top. It's more of a cadmium red color, I would say. And also the cupcake is a pretty similar red. And I tried to use the red in all of the painting, and I tried to look around to see where all I could lay the red down first. It's mostly a monochromatic painting with the addition of white or black. to lighten or darken the color. Just makes it a lot easier. So I really just mounded up the icing and try to stack it in layers. It has a thicker base at the bottom, and then it gets more narrow as it goes up toward the top where the cherry is. And so I've taken this cadmium red and I'm using that for the cupcake color. It seems to be in shadow a lot under this icing, and a lot of times shadow colors actually have a lot of red in them and they become more chromatic while they're in shadow, even though you might not think that. So yeah, the cupcake at the bottom is darker, and of course as it comes up toward the top of the cupcake, there is the cupcake wrapper that's white. And so now I have taken my red mixture and added black to it, and it's creating this gray purple color, and I'm using that for shadows in the twisted icing. It's like a swirly icing mounded on top. And I'm not being super exact about the reference photo, but just trying to make some little swirl marks. So I knew that I wanted to paint a cherry, and I wasn't sure how I wanted to do that. I've been painting a lot of fruit lately, and I listened to the song by Olivia Dean called So Easy to Love, and there's a line in it about a cherry, and I really love this song. She says, "I could be the twist, the one to make you stop, the icing on your cake, the cherry on the top." So I don't know if you've heard that song, but she's a really great artist. She has a very unique voice, and that's her popular song right now. And the one that became popular before that was called The Man I Need, which I really love that song too. And she's just a really great singer, and when she sings, she's always smiling, and she just seems really joyful when she sings. So now I'm taking the icing color, that strawberry pink color, and I'm doing a gradation of pink to red, like an ombre effect here. Just scrubbing this color in with up and down brush strokes. It's kind of blending with the darker red at the bottom. Okay, so now I've taken my red and white and mixed in some black, and it makes this darker shadow color for the bottom. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but if you ever look at a cupcake in a wrapper after you bake it, the oils in the cupcake, the moisture kind of settles at the bottom, and everything kind of sticks to the paper more and becomes darker at the bottom anyway. And towards the top of the wrapper is where it starts to pull away from the cupcake, and you see like an accordion shape at the top. But if you mix this black into your red, it kind of looks like a purple color. So you can kind of use your black almost like a blue. When you mix blue and red, it makes a purple shade. But this one is probably a little more muted because it's black. It's more of a grayish purple. And if you add more white to that color, it's more of a mauve-y color. But I really like the colors in this. I think it has a nice color harmony. So yeah, the left side of the cupcake is obviously more in shadow, getting less light, so you are going to have more intense shadows and darks on that side. And also you're going to have these little shadows in between the swirl layers and the icing. And so I've taken that shadow color and tried to move it around the painting a little bit. And right here on the edge of the cupcake where the cupcake meets the paper, that's definitely going to be in shadow. And right under the mound of icing is going to be in shadow too. But yeah, you're not getting a lot of light behind that white paper where the cupcake and the paper meet. Okay, so now I'm going back into this cherry and adding a more intense red and building up the layers. Trying to make this a little bit more opaque and more translucent like the cherry in the reference photograph. And that's almost like an oxymoron, I guess, being both opaque and translucent. But I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes when you put these acrylics on, they're very transparent. So just trying to add a little bit more opacity. But when I intensify the color, it also makes it appear more luminescent inside, like the light's shining through it in some places, making it more translucent, I guess. Okay, so now I'm going around the edge and lightening up the top of that paper wrapper. And I am using probably too thick of a brush for this. So I'm going to go back in a minute and get out a flat head and try to see if I can make a finer detail line for this, because I do want this to look like it's crinkle cut or like a zigzaggy at the top or like an accordion or something like that. Okay, so I just wanted to insert some more footage of the birds. So here is the little woodpecker that landed on the feeder next to the cardinal. And he wasn't very nice to this cardinal. He decided he was going to peck him with his long beak and make him fly away. So that wasn't very nice. But it looks like the rest of the birds are getting along down on the ground here. Okay, so here is that flathead brush that I decided that I was going to try to use. And it works a little bit better, but it was still kind of dragging on the canvas, so I maybe needed to add a little bit of water to this mixture, or maybe even an acrylic fluid thinner medium that you can get. That might have made it, but it's doing the job okay. It's not terrible. It's better than it was. But I'm also speeding up this footage too because I didn't want this video to turn into a 40-minute video. So basically I'm just going around and putting in highlights, adding these blue sprinkles, and I wanted to limit myself to 3 colors plus black. So I decided I wasn't going to put any other colored sprinkles. So if you paint this, you can put more sprinkles on yours. But I kind of like the simplicity of this and how the little blue sprinkles, they just match the background. It just kind of ties the whole painting in together. And I'm just going around and cleaning up the edges and putting the background in and giving it a blue shadow underneath the cupcake. And just trying to keep it loose and painterly. And I just took my blow dryer to speed up the drying time. That's something that's nice about acrylics. If you get a little impatient waiting for your paint to dry, just hit it with your blow dryer and then you can apply your next layer. Otherwise, sometimes the paint gets a little too slippery and you really do need to dry in between layers. So yeah, I'm just going in and putting in some more highlights on the cherry. I kind of pushed and pulled the highlights around until I liked them and added a little bit more darks in there too, and that's the finished painting. And if you like this video, please subscribe and head over to my channel, and there's other videos that are very similar to this, and I hope you find something that you like. All right, have a great day, guys.